Okay, so we're back with another video already talking about Season 13. This is totally not the third video I am recording in one day. So anyways, as you guys know, there's been a lot of patches, or rather a lot of changes coming in this new patch with kind of changing the meta up a little bit. We have the new Legend Newcastle, this Valk nerfs, and a few other pretty interesting changes. So I figured we're gonna take a look at the legends that we have now. And I'm going to try to put a tier list up. And honestly, feel free to like save this video or something, and we can come back to this in 2 or 3 months when this has sorted itself out. But these are going to be like my preliminary standings for the legends, kind of like how good they are comparing to each other, whatever. For the sake of these rankings, I'm going to be leaning towards the ranked - competitive or tournament side. But I am still going to factor in whether the legend is like useful in pubs. Are they useful in pubs? Or like it's still gonna affect the ranking a little bit, but we're obviously gonna majorly be saying, okay, this legend is good in tournaments. And one example, without even starting, is Gibraltar. Obviously, Gibraltar is in pubs. He is probably like a D tier or something like that, a very low tier. But if you take him into competitive, at least by, last season, he was probably like an S tier. Like, he was a must-have, almost 100% pick rate in tournaments. And then I'd probably still make him an S tier or A tier or something like that. Very high up the top despite his poor performance. Because that's what, at the end of the day, that's what matters the most. Anyways, we're just gonna dive into it. We have 21 legends. Let's just go. If you guys disagree with any of it, let me know in the comments and let's have a discussion. Anyways, let's jump into it. So we're not starting in any order in particular, but I want to start with a legend here that's that hasn't gotten much change, so we can kind of like work our way backwards from that. Now the circumstances will have changed. Even a legend that hasn't received any changes directly, like no nerfs, no buffs, maybe the guns they run gets nerfed, maybe the meta changes and the legends they synergize with go in or out of meta. It really depends on a lot, and I think Gibraltar is going to be a controversial pick. So we're going to start with Gibraltar. He is, so as I was saying in the intro, I'd put him in the S tier previously. We haven't seen too much about Newcastle just yet, but it does seem to be, they seem to have sort of the same job, right? Like a supportive shield role. Gibraltar has a bubble that covers everything, and Newcastle has kind of like 90-degree protection, or a little bit more than that, 180 degrees maybe. But I still want to say Gibraltar comes out on top. If these two would go against each other, I feel like Gibraltar probably be the number one. But like it will come out on top. If I had to choose one supportive shield legend, it would be Gibraltar. And Newcastle does have some pretty good useful passives. You could probably combine the two if you're playing sort of like a bunker composition. But Gibraltar would have to win as a standalone legend. So keeping that in mind, I'm going to have to put Newcastle. We haven't seen him too much. I'm probably going to regret this, but I want to put him in A tier. Because I think that his passive, where he can drag and res the teammate at the same time, it's a good passive, but it's not really necessary. I don't think the shield has that much health. And it's just like not really, like, how to say it in the best way? Like, I don't think that you really get... If you can res someone, you usually don't need them to pull them out of cover, especially in like ranked and competitive. If you res someone and take them out of cover, they're just gonna die again. It's not gonna help you. If Gibraltar can bubble and nobody can push it, way stronger. So that, I guess that's gonna be kind of the steeple here. I might end up moving Newcastle down a little bit, but we'll leave him there for now. What else do we have? I'm gonna put Maggie. Just gonna put her in the, I think we're gonna put her in the C tier. I'm not a big fan of her. She does have some niche uses in a WQ meta, meta, but she hasn't really, I don't want to say she has gotten much changed this season, and the circumstances hasn't really affected her. Like you can run up on people, that's about it, but that's not really that valuable. So what else do we have? We're gonna need some, I want some movement legends now. We looked at supports, I want to look at movement legends. What do we have? Just to bring us up to speed here. Let's start with an easy one, Pathfinder. Yeah, he's going to D tier. I think we actually have to add a new tier for this. Yeah, no, so the thing is with Pathfinder is, like, yeah, we're gonna get Storm Point. That seems to be the first map we get in ranked this next season, which is good. There's a lot of verticality. But Pathfinder still has a huge hitbox, and it's just overall pretty worthless. Not many shields, super easy to hit. it just, you know, he's basically unaffected. There was like a slight nerf with how he can move around, but it was more of a bug fix than a nerf. So I'm just gonna keep it in F tier. Nothing substantial yet. Moving up from that, I'm gonna put Octane. So Octane is weird, right? Because he has good movement. He has his jump pad and the passive helps. But he sees 0 play in competitive. He sees 0 play in super high tier ranked. If you're playing in a competitive match, nobody will play Octane. If you're playing a match where you're pub stomping, you will play him, because when you are outmatching the competition by a lot, he allows you to play extremely aggressive and explosive. You can also combine him with Revenant, but when you just look at Octane, when there's a lot of squads camping, it's basically like Pathfinder. You take a zipline, you will die. But because of his strength in playing hyper aggressive, I can't put him with Pathfinder. I'm gonna have to put him in B tier, and I'm willing to take flag for that. So Rampart actually received some buffs. Okay, so Rampart received some buffs. Her spin up time decreased. The amped cover deploy health. So her shields, or the health from the cover, has gone from 45 to 120, which is pretty substantial. And the deploy time has been decreased, so her walls go faster, they have more health, and her shield life spins up even faster. I think she had a spin up buff very recently too, so she's seen even more buffs. So those are interesting. I think Rampart could come out of the meta. I think it would place her probably like in a F or D tier before this, but I think I'm gonna put her in a C tier. I feel like C tier is turning into like a niche tier. I feel when I look at legends, I think that like legends or compositions, I usually think, okay, so is this legend good in many situations or just one niche situation? For example, there used to be like a meta, I think NA still runs it sometimes, and I've seen it every once in a while in EU, where they run Horizon and Fuse. Horizon Fuse meta is great because you can just go, okay, a Horizon ult and then Fuse ult, and they die, right? You can't really fight back. But when you don't have the ultimates, it's useless. Same with Octane. If you don't have the ultimates, it's useless. So it's niche, it works to get you kills, but you're not gonna win a game with it, or very rarely. If you have a great position and great team play, maybe. But lacking these legends like Gibraltar that really allows you to move around on the spot will catch you off a lot. So yeah, we mentioned Revenant. We're gonna have to put him in... I have to put him in C tier. Like, I wanted to put him with Octane because they go hand in hand, but Octane is good with more legends. I'm playing with D tier actually, because Revenant is useless without basically a hyper-aggressive legend. So we're gonna have, you could have Ashe, you could have Octane, but Revenant on its own is he's just useless. So let's look at that. Let's look at, because we mentioned it, Ashe. Okay, Ashe is fun. I like Ashe. Okay, so Ashe is a hyper-aggressive legend, like I said, with Octane. She has good verticality, but she can also move forward. Her Q is kind of useful. She can poke for free. And her passive is super good, both for chasing kills or kill points or whatever you want to do. You just avoid action and know what's going on the map around you. So I'm going to have to say, oh man, yeah, I'm going to have to put her in A tier. I wanted to put her in S tier, but not really, because she's a bit risky. But she's definitely a strong A, maybe even leaning towards S. Because the rotations are just good. You cannot play explosively with her. You can... Especially on Storm Point, there's a lot of like windows and stuff that you can portal through, like these windows with small grates, because she can basically send her portal through any small object on the map. As long as there's a tiny gap, she can make a portal through it, which is super useful on Storm Point, like I said. We've seen a lot of plays with that lately where you have like a building and a team is holed up inside, and Ashe just goes, oh yeah, I'm just gonna portal through the window into the house and just catch the entire team off guard. So she's going into the A tier for sure. I want to put her in S tier, but I do think she is a little bit she has a lot of versatility, but she is a little bit too one-dimensional to go up with the greats such as Jibby. We're doing good so far, I think. I think so far this list is pretty fair. This is a fair list for sure. 21 legends, man. How are we gonna do this? Let's do a few more A tier legends. That's easy. Loba, A tier for sure. Especially the higher level your she gets better the higher competition is in the lobby, right? If you have 10 squads alive in zone 4 or 20 squads alive in zone 4, you have a Loba and her black market. It's super useful. You can grab the packages. You can grab loot. You can get hot swaps, you can grief enemy teams, and you can keep, if you have like a sniper, you can keep poking everyone to level up your own armors, while at the same time depraving the enemy teams of their resources. You can drain the resources by getting it yourself, also called a sustain comp. I would put her in S tier, but normally I don't feel like she's worth trading out. She normally takes the support legends spot, or maybe the fighter legend spot, and I don't think she's worth that. You usually see her in 1 or 2 teams in competitive in a lobby, so it's not super popular maybe. But she also loses value if everyone runs her. So she's funny like that. She's funny like that. Valk's gonna be an interesting one, because Valk, up until literally, so this video is gonna release on patch day. Up until today, yeah, she was extremely strong. We probably still will see this. A surge of Valk teams, I think she was probably as high of a pick rate as Gibraltar, especially in competitive and ranked. Because you can just, if you get locked out of zone, you can just go, all right, I'm gonna fly in, I'm gonna Valkyrie back in. You can third party with it, you can rotate super deep. Basically a get out of jail free card. And what started happening has been getting more and more popular lately, is something called oobing or out of bouncing, which is where you fly up as a Valkyrie and you land on the cliffs, because every map has these really high cliffs you can't get to normally, and then you stand there and you look down and you try to figure out like, oh, what team can we push? And then you toss nades or you shoot them or use abilities or whatever and set up a push, drop down and kill the team. And it's very hard to fight back proper oob. And you're usually caught off guard by it, but because it's really hard to prepare for until this season. Because with this season, chat, we have moved. They have actually changed how out of bounds works. So when you are having this timer that says out of bounds, warning, you have 15 seconds to, if you die, like if you stay in there for over 15 seconds, you will die. And if you get this timer, you can't use your legend abilities, you can't use weapons, ordnances, or survival items, and you can't use healing items, and all active passives will be nerfed, such as Valk's jetpacks. Someone asked me yesterday, does this apply to Horizon's passive? And I don't think it will, because that's not an active passive, like you're not using it, it's just, oh, I'm landing, you know. But we'll have to see. So, I want to say Valk, who used to be S tier, I still, like, hot take, I think people might still pick her. Like, yeah, you can't oob anymore. Oh, yeah, also, another nerf they did was that you can't spin when you drop her. So you lost 2 valuable strats from her super packed kit. 1, you can't out of bounds play, and 2, it's harder to do ult. If you ultimate, you will get shot at by every team, right? And what people did to kind of counter that is, okay, so when I pop my ult, I'm gonna spin really fast, and then they're not gonna be able to hit me, they're gonna hit my teammates and whatever. But they changed this, you can't do this anymore, which means that she's a lot easier to beam. But that is only really a problem if you're ulting right next to another team. It doesn't really matter if you're farther away. So I think she is still, I'm gonna still say she's S tier, because the rotational ability at the moment is completely unmatched. I don't know the full range, over hundreds of meters, or over 100 to 200 meters, depending on altitude and whatnot. And she can still scan and whatnot. She just doesn't have the cheesy plays. Out of bounds plays still work. You can still drop out of bounds and look around, and then drop down. If you have a Gibraltar, you can drop a bubble as soon as your out of bounds timer goes away, and then just make a play. So I don't think it's that detrimental to your success or her success. This is a fun video. I like recording this. If you guys enjoyed the video so far, hit the like button. So we're gonna look at something else. What else do we have? I want to try to keep it like chronological, because it's easier in my brain rather than having to switch around a lot. Rafe. Let's talk about Rafe. Rafe is fun. Rafe used to be the #1 legend. Everyone had it because she had a good portal. You can go back and forth. But she's seen very little play in season in 12. And I think in season 13 is going to be the same, especially with Stormpoint. Because Stormpoint is big, it's open. Like, yeah, there's cover here and there, but it's just a big and open map. And you don't really get the chance to utilize your portal. Usually the portal is max 100 meters. The distance between covers on Stormpoint is way beyond 100 meters. The map is big and open. So she doesn't have much use. Now we're probably gonna go back to World's Edge or King's Canyon for the second split, but and then she'll still be useful. But as it stands, I can't put her in S tier. I just can't. I think she's almost in, like, with the power creep, if you want to call it that, like with every other legend getting more and more useful, I think she might actually need a buff. That's a super hot take. I have to put her probably in the A tier. Yeah, no, for sure. She definitely belongs there. Mirage. Let's just take Mirage. I'm just gonna get him out of the way. It's a D tier. He's good in pubs. He's fun to use or whatever, but he's like, I have to put him as F tier, sorry. Like, I'm just weighing too much ranked and competitive in here. He's not good. Like, yeah, he's fun to bamboozle and use your ultimate and whatnot, but like, you don't get, like, the passive is so niche, and he provides 0 value for his teammates. All of these legends provide like rotation or cover or something. Mirage is just like, yeah, send out a clone. Oh, but unless I'm invisible, it's not useful. Like, I can't think of, if I made a team composition, I could never think of someone that I would like replace for Mirage. Lifeline, I want to say she's probably like as useless, but she does have like a little bit of niche use. She's not Rampart and Maggie valuable. I'd probably put her with Revenant just because of her like pub and low tier play. Because the ability to completely revive your team unpunished is huge. The loot she can get is pretty huge, so I'd have to put her in D tier just from the team play alone. I'm gonna paint a picture, right? Like if you have, if I'm a Lifeline and I have 2 teammates and both of them get knocked, or one of them gets knocked, let's say one gets knocked, that means that in a team fight sense, it was a 3v3, but now it's a 2v3. If I rezzed with any other legend, that would make it a 1v3, because now my teammate has to protect me while I am rezzing. Yeah, the other team will obviously push that advantage instantly, but because I am a Lifeline, I can just pop my passive on my down teammate, and then both me and my teammate are waiting. And while there's a 2v3, we are aiming straight at them, and if they push, which they're forced to do, because they have to deny the res, we get a lot of free shots in, and we can completely swing the tide of the fight. You can also use Lifeline on both of your teammates at the same time, which allows you to reset and do the same thing, albeit a lot more risky. Super good, and it has no cooldown, so you can just go ham with it. At least we don't have the wall from the last few seasons. That was crazy. Man, I just feel like I'm gonna get so much flack for this. I was looking at the list, like, oh god. Crypto. Oh man, so we're playing Crypto in competitive if you have been following the playing for content journey. But I feel, and I think with where the meta is going, it could be pretty useful. But I'm going to have to put him in A tier for now, because I feel like it's good to get scans. EMPs are super strong. But he is a little bit... Actually, I don't know how it works with Newcastle. If anyone knows about Newcastle, let me know. Because I guess if he nerfs... If he takes away Newcastle's ultimate, he might actually be strong. I'm going to put him in S tier. Why not? Because he allows you to EMP. You can get rid of cover. You can combine with Gibraltar. Like you Gibraltar ult, so the enemy team has a bubble, then EMP and they die. We have a clip from that from our previous tournament where I got free kills for it. You can read zones, even when you're like stuck. You can get info constantly, but it really depends on like your playstyle. It's not the easiest legend to play, but we're not talking about ease of access here. We're talking about strength. So he's gonna go on S tier for sure. All right, let's do Horizon then. Horizon is a hard one. I think I'm gonna have to put her in A tier because we have seen her. I don't think she saw much play in the recent tournaments, but we're gonna see a lot of Storm Point in the new season, in season 13. And she has a very good, like her ultimate is super hard to counter. And she has a lot of good verticality with her gravity lift. She is niche though. She is niche. You have to give something up for Horizon. I don't see what that would be. Actually, I'm gonna put her in here actually. You can counter the ultimate by shooting it. And her Q is kind of niche. So I guess she's closer to Octane. If you are in a, like with Octane, if you're in a lobby where you're a lot better than the opposition, you can play Horizon and just kind of pub stomp. If you are in a more competitive lobby with 20 squads alive, it's gonna be a lot harder. But Horizon is a great legend for setting up fights. Just use 2 abilities, just Q forward, rather to use your tactical forward and ultimate on them, and then toss nades or combine it with another legend or whatever you want to do. You can use it to get a team out of cover, just toss the ultimate on them. And don't even follow up on it. Just throw the ultimate. If there's 20 squads around you and everyone's looking for like a chance to fight, someone's gonna ape that, guaranteed. So I'll put her in B tier though because it's very niche. And at the end of the day, if you're gonna use, I know the old tournament was on a different meta, but since she has been unchanged, it still applies. Nobody ran her. Like even the teams that were running Horizon up until this point, when it got to LAN, nobody ran her. She wasn't good anymore when things were actually at stake. Fuse, I have to put him in C because he is completely reliant on a full team to go with him. He has some uses, like, yeah, you can combine him, or you can toss some grenades, you can combine him overload with, like, the Horizon or Gibraltar or whatever. But it is very niche, and yes, you get his Motherload passive on, like, a full team if you're fighting endgame, gives you vision. Once again, super niche. Super niche. No flexibility whatsoever. Useless without your passives, big, easy to hit hitbox. And I guess his knuckle cluster isn't super useful. We have seen a little bit of Fuse in tournament play and in ranked play, but it's not really. It's niche. It's niche. So then we're gonna look at something else, which is Watson. What are you doing in my room? So I want to put her in S tier, But we're playing Stormpoint, and there's not a lot of houses. Like, she excels, Watson excels when you all have a lot of teams alive in a very hectic situation with a lot of buildings. We have seen a little bit of her in the APAC regions, in the Asian regions. We've seen a lot of Watson play, but not too much in Western play. And we also saw that in the international land. Not a lot of people played her, or the teams that did, they got struck out pretty early. She does have some use. We have seen her, and we'll see some of her. Some of the buildings on Stormpoint, for example, are super good to push our setup with Watson, because it's very difficult to get in and get the angle and break defenses. But there's not that many buildings. And if you use her outdoors, she's not super good. Because, like, if you put your ultimate down, anyone can destroy it, and your fences aren't kind of exposed. Anyone can shoot them down if they spend the time to do it. So I'll put her in A tier as a worthy mention for the teams that have done well with her and will continue to do well with her. But I do think in the scope of all of these things, she's not as good as that. She's still better than Horizon and Octane though, so I think that still applies. And I'm gonna say with the same with Seer. So I'm basically putting Guild on blast here because I'm pretty sure they ran, was it Valk, Watson, Seer in Stormpoint? It's good if you play it correctly, and Seer is pretty strong. He has his ultimate, like fighting against a Seer ultimate is so disgustingly difficult because they always know what you're doing, what you're gonna do before you're even doing it. His Q denies heals, abilities, resists, and it gives you constant reminder of who's low and who has a lot of HP, which makes focus fire so much easier. It doesn't matter, like, it doesn't matter how good your comms is. Nothing beats having a health bar over your, like, dude you're shooting. It will be so much easier, and the confidence that comes with it. Like, it's you can't measure it into a number, but the confidence from seeing the health bar of who you are fighting, it just feels good. It just I feel so comfortable having a Seer on my team. So I'm gonna put him on A tier. I don't think it's good enough on S tier. I feel like he's kind of like a Bloodhound, but worse in a way. But it is still super strong. Actually, I'm gonna bump him down to B tier because I was about to put Bloodhound in A tier. Yeah. Bloodhound gives you wall X. And also they can see through the smokes and a lot of stuff with the ultimate. And can run around and deal a lot of damage. A little bit niche maybe, but still super strong, especially on Stormpoint because of Bangalore, who we're gonna put in B tier. Bangalore can smoke and combine with Bloodhound for a pretty devastating effect, but they have to go hand in hand. We saw a lot of teams that smoked enemy teams and then Bloodhound scanned. And then there was just free shots on them, assuming they don't have DTs. Digital threats, for those who aren't as enlightened. And I just thought that was very interesting to see. We tried it ourselves and we got a lot of kills with it. It does have some niche uses. I think Team Empire ran it as well. And neither Bangalore or Bloodhound saw any changes for the next season, so this still applies. And finally, Caustic, we have to put him in S tier. Caustic has been super high on the rankings. He hasn't seen any changes still. I don't see anything changing. Yes, Watson and Caustic are both most useful in closed houses in areas where nobody can shoot, and there's not many houses on Stormpoint, for example. But he is better than Watson. Despite the nerf to his barrels, he's more oppressive. It's way harder to push him because the gas slows you down, it damages you, makes you visible for the Caustic to beam you. And you have to deal, I think you have Watson node is 25 health. Like if you want to break a fence, it's 25 health. Caustic barrel, if popped, has, I think it's 200 health. And even when you break a Caustic barrel, the gas is still there for a little while. So it's way better than Watson, even in her current state. Looking at this and thinking back, maybe I took the last season a little bit more in mind. And maybe there aren't that many, like that big of a meta change looking at this again. There's been a few differences. Sure, Newcastle is here on A tier. But we're just gonna have to wait and see. Like I said, I'm curious to go back to this video in, what is that, 2 to 3 months when the season is almost done and see how wrong I was. Because once again, these are predictions. We haven't seen how this plays out. There's probably some factors I missed. If you agree, hit that like button. If you disagree, let me know in the comments. Hit the like button. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Make sure that you subscribed, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Peace out.